My wife and I got very excited by the idea of a vineyard, and we planted a vineyard 10 years ago in 2008 in this wonderful area of West Sussex. We're surrounded actually by other vineyards in the area, so safety in numbers. It's the right place. Other people planted before us and they've produced fantastic wine also. The vines were a year old when we planted the vines, and then it takes another 2 years before you can take a crop off them. And the wine takes a long time to mature in bottle before it's ready to release. So we released our first wine in 2013. And we've been going from strength to strength ever since. We aim to produce somewhere between 30 and 50,000 bottles a year, and our objective is to sell that direct to the customer through our website, to private client wine merchants, to specialist wine retailers, and also increasingly looking to export around the world. We think there is, and the industry generally thinks there's a great potential in selling into the various states in the United States, into Scandinavia, into the Far East, into Japan, and that process has just begun in the last 2 or 3 years, and the interest and level of take-up from those countries is very exciting, and we think that's going to be a great export market for us and for the industry. It's a very long-term investment business, so I think most people who've started a vineyard from scratch will tell you that, particularly for a sparkling wine that takes such a long time to mature, that it might take you 8 or 10 years before you really begin to see a return on your investment. And that means that you have to obviously be extremely careful over cash flow planning. You have to be very careful, in particular with your relationships with the revenue, because HMRC is not particularly familiar with vineyard and winery businesses, and take quite a lot of education in terms of the length of time it's going to take for any business of this type to start making a decent return. And indeed, Harwood Hutton and Anna have been incredibly helpful in patiently and repeatedly explaining to the revenue these issues. And I think the revenue sort of understand it and get it, helped by the fact there are other vineyards that have started up at the same time as us. But that has been for us a critical element of it, which is one of sort of education of the revenue. And as I say, Anna's been very helpful on that. There are lots of other areas. I mean, clearly, in a startup node, getting the VAT right is extremely important, and VAT refunds. And Harwood Hutton have always been extremely responsive, just in the routine day-to-day, requirements that we have, from obviously preparing accounts, preparing VAT returns, through to tax planning, and indeed, I think importantly from my wife and ours perspective, integrating the planning and accounting for the business with our own personal accounting and tax affairs. Those two, the integration of those have mattered a lot to us, and Harwood Hutton have been extremely effective at helping us through those issues. So, I mean, it's a great firm. Anna and her team have been very responsive, also very proactive in identifying issues and opportunities. I mean, I would say that there's an element of being able to sleep easy at night when you know you have a problem. You know that Anna's going to be on the case and she's going to be back to you with an answer or a solution, which for a business, when you're in a startup mode, when you're working so hard as we do to make the business work, it's really good to know that you have an advisor who's sort of looking after you and looking after your back.